Hi, my name is Justin Lara, and this is a scenario presentation for Aviation 326 at Liberty University. The scenario states you are a student working on your commercial. You just flew a 123 nautical mile trip from Richmond to Dare County, but were not able to land due to a deer on the runway. Assuming we're in a Cessna 172, which is what I typically fly at my flight training affiliate, the trip would take roughly 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 14 gallons of fuel. Since we are already in the air, I'm assuming the pre-flight actions have already been completed correctly and the PAVE checklist has been considered. The PAVE checklist may need to be revisited to ensure items such as fuel quantity, alternate airport conditions, and external pressures of cross-country training requirements still allow for a safe flight. In some situations, to detect a problem, we might need to notice a failing instrument, catch a warning light, or notice a programming error. For this scenario, detecting the problem is self-explanatory. You see or maybe hear on the CTAF that a deer is on the runway, and that's obviously a problem. The next step is to calculate how much of a problem it really is. Dare County has intersecting runways. Maybe the deer is on runway 35, far away from runway 5, and the wind is favoring 5, or the wind conditions allow us just to land with a crosswind. Maybe the deer is just walking across the runway and will be gone after a go around and a lap in the pattern. We must first consider the severity of the issue before we could respond appropriately. Next, we need to figure out the desired outcome. Our first objective is to ultimately get the wheels on the ground safely. Assuming this flight is part of commercial training and to meet a cross-country requirement, being able to log the flight as cross-country time would be ideal. The Cessna 172 holds 53 gallons and burns 9.9 gallons per hour. With fuel remaining regulations and some room for personal minimums, there should be 3 hours of fuel remaining if there was full tanks at the start of the flight. This gives us plenty of fuel to just turn around and fly straight back to Richmond. However, 14 CFR 61.1 states cross-country time means, except as provided in paragraph 2 through 6 of this definition, time acquired during flight conducted by a person who holds a pilot certificate, conducted in an aircraft that includes a landing at a point other than the airport of departure, and that involves the use of dead reckoning pilotage, electronic navigation aids, radio aids, or other navigation systems to navigate to the landing point. For the purpose of meeting the aeronautical experience requirements for a private pilot certificate, a commercial pilot certificate, or an instrument rating for the purpose of exercising recreational pilot privileges under 61.101, time acquired during a flight conducted in an appropriate aircraft that includes a point of landing that was at least a straight line distance of more than 50 nautical miles from the point of departure, and that involves the use of dead reckoning pilotage, electronic navigation aids, radio aids, or other navigation systems to navigate to the landing point. Now we need to come up with a plan to get to our desired outcome. Unless the flight was meant to satisfy a specific longer cross-country required by Part 141, Appendix D, we need to get a landing in at an airport at least 50 nautical miles away from Richmond in order to log it for commercial training purposes. One option may be to, as discussed earlier, choose a runway away from the deer. Another idea might be to do a low approach, try to spook the deer away, or try to contact someone on the CTAF or by phone to chase it away. However, I don't want to waste fuel hoping the deer moves or gets moved, and the deer could come across the runway again during the landing roll. It isn't something we really need to risk in this scenario. We are in no hurry to get to the ground, and there are plenty of alternate candidates nearby that I looked at prior to the flight. First flight, although it doesn't offer fuel, is only 6 miles away. Other possible places to land and on the way back toward Richmond is Elizabeth City and Currituck County. Finally, we just got to pick the best option to carry out the plan. Because I don't need fuel and it's close by, I would just divert to first flight. On top of being able to log it, if the flight is meant to meet the 100 nautical mile 2-hour flight requirement for commercial training, I could still check that box since it's 119 nautical miles from Richmond. As with any diversion, I would need to do my time, field, distance, and top of descent calculations, get the weather information, and then execute. I could just do a touch and go, then return to Richmond. Finally, we would evaluate whether we made the right choice, if the problem still exists, or if a new problem occurs as a result of the actions. Typically, the pilot would likely confirm the autopilot is now flying as expected, or whether it's still safer along a new route, or the airspeed indicator is now working after applying pitot heat. Even though the decision is obviously correct if we land without hitting a deer and log the flight, we should still debrief ourselves on what we could have done better. These are my references. That's going to conclude my presentation, and thank you for watching.